Moscow has sought to make the West dependent on Russian energy since the 1970s. Infrastructure development, dumping, and the political lobbying allowed the Kremlin to blackmail the EU after the attack on Ukraine. They say that you will help Ukraine, you will freeze without Russian gas. But the attempt failed. Europe was able to switch in just a year to gas supplies from the US, Norway, and the Middle East. As a result, this year, already in June, gas storage capacity in the EU countries is on average 75%. This is even more than in June 2021.
First of all, it is energy saving, energy efficiency. Well, we will temporarily suspend our movement towards green energy, although the sun and wind have accelerated this movement. Let's temporarily return to coal, return to the generation of electricity by coal. And what is very important, they began to build new and expand the old terminals for receiving liquefied gas. They pushed themselves, lost in the price of electricity and gas, but said, guys, freedom is more expensive. Mikhail Krutikhin, oil and gas market analyst, in an interview with Radio Liberty.
The energy wasn't the only sector of the European economy where Moscow played a prominent role. In some countries, agro-industry, fertilizers, and especially logistics depended on Russian companies. The Kremlin has therefore prophesied the collapse of these industries if the EU refuses to cooperate with Russia. These forecasts were not fulfilled. And in some cases, instead of crisis, we have growth. In this sense, the situation in the ports of Latvia, where most of the cargo came from or to Russia, is remarkable. The country supported the sanctions and gave up the partnership with Moscow. And contrary to expectations, cargo turnover in Latvian ports increased by 15%.
На наших глазах происходит.
We are witnessing a transformation, a reformatting of all transport, energy and logistics chains. That is, what they will be in the end, we do not know. But I think that without Russian resources, without Russia's toxic dependence on raw materials, Europe will be much safer. Let's not forget that after the war, the Ukraine-EU partnership, in the future it will be a single whole of Europe.
In the European Union, one country consistently opposes the Brussels policy. I'm talking about Hungary. In 2022, the country's trade with Russia increased by 80%. And more than 80% of Hungary's gas and crude oil came from Russia. Surprisingly, the country has the highest level of corruption among EU members. And the level of democracy is steadily declining. Because of this, Budapest regularly comes into conflict with Brussels and recently lost a trial against the European Commission in a case about the rights of immigrants. As a result, the EU has been suspended Hungary's subsidies for a year and a half, demanding reforms. Therefore, inflation in the country is rising. Now it is about 10%. The attempt to close the holes in the budget with Russian money does not justify itself, nor in the current state of the Russian economy encouraging.
The basis of this economy is the export of hydrocarbons. By 50%, the main source of income has decreased, expenses are growing. Accordingly, the hole in the Russian budget is growing, and the Russian economy is getting worse. And those countries that, thanks to a policy like Hungary, expect to have some kind of profit, they are very much mistaken, in the sense that the possibilities of Russia are no longer so limitless.
In the 16 months since the beginning of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, it has become clear that the EU has successfully gone through a refusal to cooperate with the aggressor country. Brussels has opened up new opportunities for growth, regardless of toxic Moscow. Dear Europeans, you are doing great. Keep going. Danila Kobza, UATV.